welcome once again to my Dragon's Lair, my studio here. And we're going to keep reading in Chapter 4 of Convergence from the Dragon Within Saga, Book 1. If you'd like to take a closer look at the book, maybe buy it because you liked what you've heard, my website will be in the description and you can order it right from there. But we're going to continue reading about Telos and continuing in the conversation he's having with Bengraco, his friend and fellow wizard. Bengraco shifted slightly again, this time returning to his position of relaxed comfort. You are aware, Grand Wizard Telos, as your name Hecton Magico, I do not require your endorsement to wield any magic in any manner I deem necessary, though I have always and will continue to always value your counsel. Apart from myself, yours is a wisdom I have heeded with all serious intentions of following. After all, it is you who are responsible for my continued life. Had it not been for your insight into the giants, I am not fully certain I would have returned at all. This produced a genuine laugh within the Grand Wizard's belly that was echoed by his counterpart still seated across from him. Indeed, Bengraco was a great wizard, having mastered several areas of knowledge, as well as having a large reservoir, possibly only second to Telos himself. His power was great, and his personality was greater, but what he displayed as enthusiasm, Telos saw as a small streak of recklessness. Which is not to say Bengraco was careless, because he was not. However, he did possess a little too much self-assuredness in regards to his own interpretation of situations and their subsequent events. Infrequently, though at the same time inopportunely, he would fail to recognize the possibility of failure, that it did not depend on how strongly he believed he would succeed without regard to its antithesis, but rather that he indeed, out of necessity, needed to entertain the thought of failure to deduce the proper and correct course of action. Such it was with the giants. Bengraco, while studying the giants and their ability to speak to all animals, did not consider that the giants would not appreciate the exclusive secret of their race being exposed to a wizard and possibly all of Avendia. So when he was brought before their Council of Kings, he was not prepared for the hostilities they chose to display. Neither was it productive when Bengraco cursed them for immature savages who lacked vision and wisdom. Moments before a grand battle was about to ensue, Telos, who was keeping watch over Bengraco for precisely this possibility, intervened. After much apologies and promises to aid the giants in their altercations with the dwarves, Bengraco was allowed to leave the encampment and leave their lands, but only with Telos' escort. Yes, that was quite an interesting development. You still owe me for that one. I had to warn the dwarves of the giants' plans, pretend to aid them while not actually tipping the scale of the battle one way or the other. I never actually thought my study of illusions would be applicable in battle in either a singular effort or on as wide of a scale as it was in the Dwarven Wars, Telos stated through a smile. How did you manage to fool the entire giant race into believing you were offering them aid? It was complicated, said the Grand Wizard with a slight wink. A slight pause in their discourse allowed Telos time enough to check his hourglass. Seeing the sand was slowly but steadily dwindling, he again felt forlorn at its passage, without his understanding to momentarily pause it. But again, seeing the late hour, he would have to suspend both his visit with his dear friend and research into the sands of time until his schedule allowed. His students, his charge, and his legacy necessitated his attention, and just as time relents for no one, neither does responsibility. Slowly standing, he addressed the wizard sitting across from him. As always, my friend, our discussion has given me a very nice reprieve from my daily duties and allowed me, once again, to revisit the more joyous days of my life. Yours are troubles I will always endure if it means the continuance of our friendship. Bengraco returned a warm smile as he stood to take his leave, allowing Telos to return to that which occupied the predominance of his mind, time and all of its possibilities. Because his life had become rooted in the halls of the university, since he assumed the dual mantle of Grand Wizard and Grand Master, he was able to walk the halls without conscious attention. To an outsider, and most insiders, the labyrinth of passages was seemingly created around a random, meaningless purpose for simple confusion. However, in reality, they were very intricately designed for a singular defensive purpose should the halls ever become compromised again. One of the university's best kept secrets was the invasion of the Unyielding in the First Age. When the propagation of magic was just being formalized, and at the behest of the very first High Council of Wizards, each nation sent its engineers, craftsmen, and resources to assist in the building of the great University of Knowledge. The basic premise necessitating the creation of a formal curriculum was that if it allowed to progress uncontrolled, knowledge, and hence magic, could carve pathways into areas that were better left to only those who had advanced in their control. Soon after its completion, and in direct response to it, the Unyielding made their existence known to the High Council. Nothing was known of the Unyielding prior to this visit, so when they threatened the whole of the High Council and the rest of Avendia without explanation or reason, the High Council responded by continuing along their pathway without deviation. Then the Unyielding showed exactly why they had been named such. Through sheer force of power, they infiltrated the deepest halls of the university, seeking to steal the centermost research as well as exterminate all those within. Through the combined efforts of the High Council, linked together by the techniques employed by Darkinian the Great, named such after successful thwarting of the invasion, they withstood and repelled the Unyielding. But their success had come at a great cost. Nearly all of the initiates of that day were killed, as well as nearly all of the ascendants. The leaders of the university, while being successful at repelling the attack, showed that even the great wizards of Avendia were vulnerable, and while donating all of the resources as they had, the races and their nations began to feel they might have been more protected had they kept them within their own boundaries. Even though the damage on that day perpetuated the redesign of the halls he now called home, he found himself year after year turning this last corner into this all too familiar room. Though he was at the completely opposite end of the learning paradox as named by Darkinian the Great, as the initiates who were now seated and facing him with expectation-filled eyes, his feeling of innocence, even if only momentary, never fully left him and always surprised him. Today marked a very significant day in the history of the university. Well, at least in the recent history. This was the first year where the numbers of new initiates exceeded those of the exiting class of ascendants. In total, there were 20 and 6 new initiates sitting in front of him. He could remember a time not too long ago when the class numbered in the single digits. This year, however, as it had over the past several years, the numbers continued to grow. We're going to end right there and pick up next time on the next daily reading from Convergence, Book 1 of the Dragon Within Saga. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and hopefully the reading was a little bit better this time, at least tolerable. And hopefully you'll tune in next time when I continue reading about Telos in Chapter 4. Thanks again, have a wonderful day, and always remember, release your dragon within. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and goodbye.